All right, you beautiful people. We are here. We are back. We are live as usual. Hey,
We're
again,
live,
we're
guys.
live. We're alive. Alive.
I mean, we're being recorded. So I guess that's kind of, but then we haven't released any of our fun blooper things yet. So maybe they think we're just this epic and this perfect all the time. And they haven't gotten to experience the nonsense where we have to repeat things 15 times and then get able to edit it out because we sound stupid.
That's why we have a great editor like Frank to do this for us.
Makes us sound so much better.
He does. He makes us sound so much better. Here's the great thing. We are talking about sci-fi and how it's affected our lives. There you go. I can talk. I can speak. I swear I can do this.
I
I have
know
a
all
voice
the
actor.
words. All the words, yes.
All the words. Everything.
All the
Yes.
words. Yeah, I think sci-fi has. I think it's one of the biggest evolutionary genres we have because half of the stuff that was written in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, that's not sci-fi anymore. Like having the device in your hand where you can see everybody and communicate, that's not sci-fi anymore. That's real life. Everybody has that. Getting, having a mobile device, having interconnections, being able to do a lot of this stuff, that's not even science fiction anymore.
That's
I
true.
think it's the only place I feel like science fiction has left is the super crazies, right? Where body modification, you have space, you have robots and AI, which again, part of that we already have.
Flying cars. I want my
Flying
flying
cars is
car.
a terrible idea. People can't even figure out how to deal with a roundabout, and you want to give them flight? Why do you think pilots go to school for so long? Flying cars are stupid. Whoever's working on it, stop it. If somebody hits my house because they are drunk drive flying, I'm going to be livid.
Drunk drive flying. I like.
Right. Like, is it even considered driving now? Would you have to have a pilot's license? Like, it's
Yeah,
not driving, you know what I mean? So I feel like the only way you'd be able to do it is to get a pilot's license.
you would have to. Yeah,
Like
because of the.
motorcycles, right? Like, you know how you
Mhm.
gotta have a different license for a motorcycle?
Well, here's the thing. Would it be considered a? Would be planes even a thing anymore if you could just have a flying car?
Humans should not all be able to do it. I cannot stress this enough. If you can't figure out a four-way stop or a roundabout, you should not be allowed to have a flying thing. You shouldn't even have a hoverboard. Like, not even like the like hoverboards we have now. You know what I mean? But like, it's just no, flying cars should not happen. Isn't that what those things are called that everybody's like going around on? Or don't they call those hoverboards?
Those aren't technically hoverboards. I know that
No,
there
they're
was.
not. But I think that's what they call them, right?
I don't even. The one wheelers. I don't even know. I really don't. But I do know that she is right that there's some things that people should not be doing, and that is flying. Because again, thinking about it, there's so many things that go into it. You have to understand the weather, you understand wind, direction, and the pressures. You have to deal with direction.
Not only that, but it's not just like getting into a normal car accident, right?
Yeah.
Which is terrible in itself. You crash a car in the freaking air or run out of gas if you're one of those people. I've had those friends that
Oh,
are like, no, my car's definitely not empty. And I'm like, well, it definitely says it's low gas. It's like, no, I know my car. Cars falling out of the damn sky because you guys don't want to stop and get gas. Or like, and then it's like you're not just running out of gas, like you're falling, which means you're gonna hit buildings, you're gonna hit those people that are sane and driving on the ground. Like, no, 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 stop it.
no, you're right because it comes up with a lot of more crap in general. There's a lot of
Yeah.
crap that goes with it. Again, the whole idea: you run out of gas on the ground, guess what? You stop.
You just
You
stop,
can
no big deal. You're a minor inconvenience.
you're minorly you are inconveniencing yourself,
Yes.
but you're not having an issue to where you're like killing other people, unless you're like on lane 4 on the left all the way and you need to get all the way to the right. That's a whole different ball game. But there is even certain things that go with that. But in the air, you still have to deal with gravity.
Exactly. So maybe this is one of those things where we could say, look, this is something that should stay science fiction.
Yeah.
How about that? Let's keep certain things science fiction, like flying cars, because none of you deserve them. None of us do it. I gotta say, I don't either. I should not be given a flying device of any shape or form.
Well, that's true. Because again, going back to what you said earlier, we were talking about how things back then are just normal for us today. Calling Mary Shelley,
Yes.
the author of Frankenstein, as the mother of science fiction is kind of odd because when I think of Frankenstein, I think of horror because
Horror.
he's yeah he
Yeah.
was one of the main monsters. He was the one of the godfathers of monsters.
And then, you have your cryptids and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you got your mummy, you've got Frankenstein, Dracula, the creature from the Black Lagoon,
Oh my God. Yeah, I forgot about him.
and then the werewolf.
Okay. All
Those are
right.
your five. Those are your major five.
Yeah. I mean, that's where
So
everything stems from. But it's
exactly
all her science fiction.
right, but because of the fact that she was dealing with the whole philosophy of playing God, which we were talking, there's a whole thing about just that in general being that philosophy of is that considered sci-fi or is it not? But in the medical world, because it's dealing with technology, look at the ideas that came from that. The idea that we can restart a human heart with
Yeah.
electricity most of the
See, that
time.
came from before then, didn't it?
Yep.
Because that
No,
book didn't come out until like the 1900s.
no, before then.
Did it really?
Yeah, I believe it was Mary Shelley. I want to say came out in 18.
1816. Whew.
Yep,
I was a little bit off.
you're just a little off, just a little
Just,
off,
just a little bit.
but
Just a barely noticeable.
it
Barely noticeable.
barely. The idea is that prior to then, you didn't know if you were dead or not. Besides using the mirror or as something shiny to under your nose, that was it. And that's why a lot of people were being buried alive, which reminds me
With
of the
the
fact
bell
that
thing.
exactly,
Oh, no.
yeah, that's
You can still go to some graveyards and they still have the little bells on them. Nothing is creepier. I mean, I don't go and hang out at cemeteries, mind you, but like,
yeah. If she prick her finger, if she's still bleeding, that means she's still alive.
yes, that was that House episode. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody's seen that. Everybody thought the guy was dead, and then they cut
Mm-hmm.
into him, and House
Yep.
was like, "Hey, you don't bleed when you're dead. It doesn't pump out of you." And they were like, "Whoops." I'm like, "Whoops? What do you mean, whoops?" Yeah, this isn't a whoops situation, sir. But it's crazy because there's not much left, I feel like, for sci-fi. You have to go to such extremes now. Back in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, it was like we said, holding a phone in your hand and being able
Yep.
to communicate wirelessly. It was
Yep.
having to that video conferencing capabilities and cordless phones, like that type of thing. And now it's like, okay, we have the tech, we have most of the AI, we have all of these different things. You have to go to these extremes,
Yeah.
which you're either doing space travel, which again is its own genre,
True.
but it's still considered sci-fi, or you have to do the crazy body modifications. I think they call the underground sci-fi. Isn't that what it is now too? Where people, the top of the earth is
Oh
basically
yeah.
dead, so now they're doing the like below ground, like Gurren Lagann. I
Um,
don't know if anybody's ever seen that anime.
Red. Oh shoot, what was that? My wife was just telling me about that earlier. Uh, Red Crystal, I think it was called. Was the series? It was about the people living underground in Mars on the planet on Mars. There's ton. We could give you tons of examples, ladies and gentlemen, of all kinds of stuff. The Time Machine, one of my favorite H.G. Wells books of all time, which, by the way, is something that we will never, ever be able to do because every time that we create something, we're already in the future. it's just,
I don't.
it's
You can't change the past. I
no,
mean,
you
think of
can't.
it realistically. As much fun as that, that's a huge sci-fi thing. Okay, there we go, time travel.
Mhm. Time
But
travel.
the repercussions of a single action, is it truly worth it? And I know everybody has things they would go back and change. Trust me, we all have a million things we would go back, whether it's you tripped that one time in front of somebody you liked,
Mhm.
to accidentally crashing your parents' car, whatever it may be.
I want to go back to the ideas because, again, when we were talking about the idea that technology and sci-fi changes constantly,
Yes.
but we've also stated before in previous episodes that there is no such thing as an original idea, just
Mhm.
a different perspective of that same idea.
Yes.
So when we were just talking about living underground,
Mhm.
do you know what one of the very first books about a society underground was
I,
called?
I,
It's called, and I love how, and I love this name for one thing, but
this,
I also love the whole idea behind this. It is called Of One Blood, or The Hidden Self by Pauline Hopkins, 1902, 1903. And let me tell you a little bit about this because I like it because, and anybody who is a Black Panther fan, you'll understand this too. Pauline Hopkins of One Blood follows Ruel, a Harvard educated mixed race man who passes for white, who uncovers mind blowing truths about Africa's history and its present when he stumbles upon a technologically advanced underground civilization beneath an archaeological dig site in Ethiopia.
yeah, and you know what you do? You turn the hell around and you leave them alone.
That,
But that's
yeah,
my theory on everything. So, what was it? They just discovered a new tribe in the Amazon, right? A vast majority of the Amazon is undiscovered because it is so fierce and insane. It
yep,
actively tries to kill you so people don't go. They discover this tribe and they're like, oh, we're going to leave them alone. They are surviving. They are living their damn life. Leave them alone. It's the same thing when they dug up that giant mummy with the golden eye and the weird thing. I'm like, first of all,
but
bury it. Bury it. Leave it alone. We just got out of COVID, guys. Come on. Stop making things angry. What are you doing?
there was so many of these little videos. I love seeing them because the first thing that pops into my mind, like any other person, I specifically those of non-European bloodlines, says the same thing. Put it back.
Exactly. Yes. I'm just so that's one of those things where I always wonder, do scientists, archaeologists, any of these things actually watch movies, TV shows, anything? Because you have the mummy, right?
Oh, good lord.
Huge, amazing, amazing movie. Brandon Fraser. If you haven't watched it for some ungodly reason, you should. You
Brandon
go, you
Fraser.
watch this dude fight with mummies. I don't count the third one. Third one was terrible.
Yeah, we don't talk
But
about that
you
one.
go, they mess with it, right? So what do people do in real life? They find these dang mummies and they start taking them out. Who did not see the mummy? Okay? Like again, sci-fi that is actively happening in our lives. Okay?
Yep.
Don't touch the mummy. Don't touch the Amazonian tribe. Leave things alone.
Yeah, and here's another thing. Here, I'm glad we're having this conversation because, like, these little things that you're bringing up, like, oh, let's go this way, let's go this way.
Yes.
Civilizations in general, okay, when we're trying to study, i.e., the the pyramids, not only in Egypt but around the world, and how they were there before anybody else.
Oh yeah.
And this is not me looking at it like, oh, this is
Yeah,
this
this is
is
not
awesome.
conspiracy theory. This is dated, guys, like scientific
This
data.
is truth. Okay, this is absolute truth because the way that they are depicted in the hieroglyphics, everything was hand tools, right?
Hmm.
There is no way in God's green earth that you could do that in a specific time frame without having some type of technology that was
I
more
mean,
than just hand
I'm
tools.
just saying, play a lot of video games. I have definitely built pyramids with my little axe and shovel in Minecraft. Takes time, but you can do it. Boom. No, I absolutely agree. It's insane. You did not chisel that thing out of anything. Back the Minecraft got you, didn't it? Yeah.
It did.
I'm playing 7 Days to Die. I am literally building a pyramid fortress. Because
Oh
what are
my
you gonna
god.
do? You can't climb it. Come at me, bro. I'm freaking amazing at survival games. Anyways,
Oh Lord,
back
back to
on
this.
track. Sci-fi.
Technically, video games is sci-fi too, if we think about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, so, and that's the weird thing. So
Yeah.
now you have that bridge of sci-fi fantasy, right?
Yep.
Is because there are certain things that are considered that they don't know how to define. So
Hmm.
things like zombies, they're like,
Hmm.
okay, that's fantasy, doesn't exist. But it's like it's also a sci-fi thing because scientists say there is a way for the brain to technically die, come back, and not be as it was. So that you have that sci-fi fantasy bridge. Now you have so much more to expand on that. But to me, that's still horror. Like as much as everybody wants to say, "Oh, zombie apocalypse, like this will be great." Have you guys ever seen The Walking Dead? This is not a game, guys. Like this is some real stuff. This is
I was
not a yes. Do you not hear those people that do it all the time? It drives me insane. I'm like, look, no, Chelsea. That's why I live close to the ocean. Talk to Danny. Talk to Danny. Find out Danny's survival plan for the zombie apocalypse. Her and Corey have this thing down. I am telling you guys, we're gonna have them on. They have it day by day.
okay.
Yes.
When we get to the horror part,
We'll
when we
do
bring,
a
yeah.
special episode. Bring Danny and Corey on so you can hear their brilliant plans.
Oh dear Lord, I'll be terrified to
It's,
death.
it's
All right, let's look at another one real quick. Metropolis. Metropolis is by Thea von Harbou. Harbou, Harbou. I know I'm probably killing her last name. I apologize. Anybody has that last name, but the, no- the novel came out in 1925. Okay, it's an existential dread over automation might have begun with the Luddites, in the early 19th century, but Thea von Harbou dragged their fears into the modern age with her 1925 novel. Like Wells' Time Machine, Metropolis envisions a future in which, and I love this part, the lower classes labor tirelessly underground so that the rich can live in the lap of luxury above. The novel created a domino effect of interpretations in other media, inspiring the 1927 film directed by the author's husband, Fritz Lang, that inspired Osamu Tezuka's 1949 manga, which in turn led to the 2001 anime film, all of the same time. Now, I'm getting this information because I'm not just reading this myself. This came off the Book Riot website. So if you want to learn more about a lot of these list of great sci-fi books from the throughout the generations, go to bookriot.com. They've got a bunch of them right there in one of their topics. But go ahead.
well, okay. So this is how we fix those rich people upstairs. Okay. All you do, remove those pillars, dig a little bit. You know what happens? Gravity's a big butthead.
Big, yeah, it's a big problem.
So it just sucks the whole city down. Guess what, guys? Everybody gets to go. You can have your life. Bring down the rich people.
Now, we've always had to deal with capitalism. We've all dealt with the whole idea of the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and all these other things. But when we're looking at this, think about what happened in the early 2000s, or is it 2010s, when we had these young people. I don't want to say these young people, like I'm at
Damn
that
those
time.
people.
Yeah, I know. Damn those young people being, taking action, proactive
Mhm.
in everything they do. But you remember when they were going against Wall Street
Mhm.
and standing against the 1%? Metropolis,
I mean, but
1925,
at the
did the
end of the
same
day,
thing.
there's always it's one of the whole things. This is going to get us in so much trouble. I don't believe in peace. It's not feasible because humans are too greedy. It'll last for what 5, 10 years, and then
Give or
you're always
take.
going to have that one person that wants more than another. Like
Yeah,
it's not an option. Everybody needs to stop pretending it is. What we need to find is common ground, and I think
exactly.
that is a huge sci-fi thing that they do: the utopia versus the dystopia. How utopia never works, guys, never works because it there's always somebody worse off. There's always going to be somebody who wants more. And I think maybe that's why sci-fi is such a huge part and why people like it, even reading about things that are only slightly different than how they are now, is because it's that genre that is starting to bridge the here and there, where
Yeah.
it's okay, this is actually possible. And I think that's one of the things that Lee Schneider does with his book Surrender that we
Hmm.
talked later this week, that
Hmm.
he kind of really got a hold of. And he did that division of this is where we could potentially be ending up.
Right. And here's the other thing. Like you said, that everybody's going to have a different viewpoint on this. Everybody's going to have a different way of thinking what their utopia is.
Mhm.
And peace is a great thing to have. Peace is great to try to have in the world today. But again, there is certain things that have to happen to keep it going. And like you said, common ground. You have to have common ground on everything. Even if you disagree on certain things. We all disagree on politics. We all disagree on religions. We all disagree on what your favorite color is. I don't know. There's so many different things. Mine's purple. But the other thing is that when we're looking at this, it gives us a sense of how it's evolving, even
Mhm.
in the literature, how it's evolving, how it's inspiring, the next generation of authors, the next generation of people that are part of this. When you're looking at sci-fi, there's all kinds of genres. There's all different types of ways you can look at it. We know the subgenres are just all over the place, and that Chelsea hates them.
All of them. I hate them. But sci-fi is an expanding genre with even how far that we have come and how much of sci-fi that we are actually living that no longer counts as sci-fi anymore.
And the fact that it's actually inspiring real life sci-fi.
Yes.
It's not even sci-fi anymore. It's just science. We
Mm-hmm.
never thought that we'd have a whole educational part of just STEM, but we do now. They teach STEM. It's all
Mm-hmm.
science, technology, and I don't remember what the other two. I think it's education and medical, something like that. It's there for you to read, enjoy, but also to encourage and inspire you to actually go out and try to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the flying cars. Let's just not do that.
Oh,
No.
guys, that's
If
so
we're going to do any hover, just do a hoverboard. It's only like a couple inches off the ground. It works. Worst
compromise. Look at that.
compromise.
Utopia. We've done it, guys.
Let's just try not to get any friction. Hoverboards are great. Hover cars, not a good thing either because there's no friction unless you have sparks and that can cause fires. We don't want to go down that way. Anyways, we all have different laws that go with it. There was another gentleman by the name of Isaac Asimov. We all have different ways of doing it, and there's always has to be some type of law in your sci-fi. What are the three things that keep your sci-fi world in check? What are the three laws that keep you in check when you're writing? That's my question for the week for everybody. In the comments on YouTube, by the way, all our videos are going to be on YouTube now each week. So you can find us there. You can see our ridiculous faces and the surroundings around us and the way that we actually are. Unless Frank, our editor, actually does his job and gets rid of some of that stuff. But don't worry, those will be in a blooper reel later on
Yes.
by the end of the year, hopefully. When you're writing your book, what are the three things that are going to keep you in check, your characters in check, your world building in check? What are the things that will not happen, but also keep everybody safe?
Or as a reader, what are three things you like in all of the books that you read? Whether it's consistency, character wise, setting, let us know your top three favorites.
Exactly. Until next time, folks, you know where to find us at beyondthepenpodcast.com. We're all over social media at Beyond the Pen Podcast or at Beyond the Pen Pod, or you can find us on Traverse TV and tell us exactly what you want us to talk about because we love having these little conversations.
Yes.
So until next time, folks, keep writing, keep inspiring, keep sharing, and keep unleashing your creativity.